Hey y'all, I'm Brandon. As you can see, I'm wearing my WAG shirt, but it's backward, so it's kind of like GAW. But I'm gonna be doing a video on my WAG experience as a dog walker with the app in general, things like that. I don't know how long this is gonna run, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. I heard because I'm doing this video because a lot of people don't know what WAG consists of. They know it's a dog walking service, but they don't know how it works. And a lot of people who want to be a dog walker don't really know how to get into it. So let's just get started. I heard about the app from my boy. He knew somebody who was doing it. So he told me about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, walking dogs. I've always been obsessed with dogs, so I'm like, okay, let's see how this works. So I ended up doing it, and you have to sign up, and you can't just sign up with the app and get it right away. Um, it is a job, so you have to go through training. They make you watch this video, and you can do it all from home. You don't have to go anywhere. There's the headquarters or whatever you want to call it is stationed in California, but you can do everything straight from home. Um, so they make you watch this training video, and then you have to take this pretty long test afterward. And if you don't get it right, because I was like 2 points away from passing, and they kept making me retake it. You can take it however many times you want. And basically, what the test consists of, like at any job, is asking you questions on the video that you watch. And the video covers what's the priorities during the walk, things to do, what you need to do after, before the walk, all of these, like in the case of an emergency, what kind of harness goes with this dog, things like that. How do you put on a harness? Basic stuff that you would expect from any other job. But I took the test like 3 times and I finally passed. But then they make you do they want to do a background check on you because a lot of the time you are going into people's houses when they aren't there. So they don't want you to be some sort of criminal, some sort of weird person that you're not allowed to be around kids, like a child offender, sex offender, whatever. But so you give them your information for the background check, and they're gonna ask for a social security card. At least they did that when I signed up. I don't know if they still do that because they changed a lot about it. But a lot of people were kind of like weirded out that they asked for the background check because I think a lot of people were under the impression that you could just sign up with the app and start walking dogs. But if that was the case, it would not be safe and nobody would have it. But so I gave them my information. They did a background check. The background check went through very quickly, and they said I was hired or whatever. And then they have you test but then allow it. I know this one person who didn't want to do it anymore because they made her pay $30 or so for gear, which is a WAG shirt, um, a WAG bandana, and the WAG bandana is not for you, it's for the dog. And you get paid a $1 bonus for wearing the WAG shirt as well as the bandana around the dog during your walk. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to use a bandana, which, like, why not? It's a $1 bonus. So that WAG gives you, not the owner. But if you're going to do that, remember to get the bandana afterward. Luckily, I had a regular client where I forgot the bandana with the dog a few times. But fortunately for me, I was going back there every now and again, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But don't forget the bandanas, because you will have to pay for that shit if you forget. But you can. They have a lot of cool gear actually. They have portable phone chargers that you can use. I didn't buy one of those, so I can't really say how much they work because I already had a portable phone charger, and it's really, really good to use on a walk if your phone is dead, because your phone, when you're on a walk, it tracks your route, it tracks your time, and it tracks how many miles you walk. You also click a little poop button to track where they go to the bathroom at, and the dog owners have the ability to watch where you're going, make sure you're doing good. They know where they pee, they know where they poop, they know what time you get home, they know when you lock the house, things like that. And it's really secure. So I started doing the app, and it was really, really good. It worked out smoothly. My first dog was actually in like not the best part of Akron, and I live in Ohio, so Akron, Ohio, and it wasn't the uh best part of town. It was like towards downtown. And every single time I get booked or I'm thinking about taking a walk, um, I look online to see what kind of neighborhood it's in, and if it's not in the safest neighborhoods, then I don't necessarily take it. And I know a lot of people are like, "You're judging a book by its cover," but I'm not about to do that. um, the other thing about getting booked for a walk, the only thing that annoyed me is that you could only see the dog name, sometimes the dog picture if the owner had one, and then where it was at. It didn't give you the tips that it would once you're already booked and once the owner already accepts your request. Um, because once you're booked, then you can see how to get into their house, where to park, notes from past walkers, um, and what was the other thing I was thinking of? Oh, yeah, what kind of dog it was, how the dog behaves, because some dogs do not like to be walked by men. I was booked for a walk, and I was super excited because it was a Dalmatian, and I'm obsessed with Dalmatians. I was booked for the walk, and then they ended up canceling because a dog doesn't like to be walked by men, and it can get violent. So I wish you'd kind of put that stuff on before you start, trying to request walks, but it is what it is. And if people aren't good at holding on to a leash tightly, some of the dogs will pull and some of the dogs will want to run. I walked uh, at least two St. Bernards, and they were hard as hell. Y'all can see how skinny I am. I'm not the strongest person. So I didn't walk them. They walked me. But yes, that's the only reason, that's only one of the downfalls about it was, but I and the owners can also pick how long they want the dog walk to last. So they would do maybe 20 minutes was the minimum, 30 minutes was medium, and then an hour was the longest. I had a lot of 30 minutes. Most dog walks are 30 minutes. And if you are a dog walker and you are walking for 30 minutes, you get at least $12.80 or something like that. And if you have the shirt and the bandana, it's $13. But the dog owners can also tip you if perhaps you meet them. A lot of the time I would get tipped if I meet them. And I would get tipped other times if I didn't meet them, but I like to send pictures or videos to the owner while on the walk, which is in the app while you're on the walk. There's like a little camera icon. It's a feature inside the map, the GPS when you're on the walk. So I like to do that, and when I usually do that, they tip me like a few bucks, but if you meet them in person, most of the time they'll give you a little bit more pricier tip, which is very nice. Especially if weather conditions are bad, if you have to walk in the rain or if you have to walk in the snow. This one time I had a dog, she was a big dog, and she was pulling the shit out of me, and I was slipping and sliding in the snow. I was laughing about it. It wasn't that big of a deal. I couldn't stop laughing at myself. But I also had to walk in the rain, which wasn't very fun, like strong rain. So most of the time the owners are pretty good about that stuff when they know the conditions and if they know their dog was a hassle or whatever. But after your walk, you leave them a report card, which is kind of cute. You say if they peed, if they pooped, if they wore their bandana, if the door was locked, if the key was in the right place, and you give a little report saying that you had fun, you went this way, we ran a lot, he'll be tired, I did give him a treat when I got home, things like that. And as long as you're friendly doing that, you should be good. And then, but you also will not get paid if you do not take a picture of the dog to prove that you did the walk. You could do anything. Anybody could go to a house, pretend they're there, and walk around themselves and just be like, yeah, I walked your dog. But if the dog wasn't let out or didn't go to the bathroom at all, that's bullshit. So you have to take a picture of the dog to prove that you were there. And on my Second walk, I forgot to get the picture, so I had to go back inside, and the owners were home and everything, but it wasn't that big of a deal, and that was a St. Bernard, so I couldn't even wrap the bandana around it, so the tip didn't really matter, but um so yeah, there's that. So always remember to get a picture. And I like to take a picture while on the walk just because it's easier. And if I'm already sending pictures and videos to the owner, then it's easier. But what was I gonna say? Damn it. Oh yeah. Okay, so I told you the price of the 30-minute walk. 20-minute walks are usually $8.20, I believe. With the bonus, it's $9.20. And then I believe the 60-minute walk is around 14, 15, I think. Don't quote me on that, I think. But the owners can give a little, I don't know how that side of it works, so I'm sorry, but the owners give a little bit of a, they can change the prices to go up. I don't think they can go down. Because WAG, like for the owners, the 30-minute walk, it's going to be $14. And two of those dollars go to WAG. And the rest goes to the walkers. So let me talk about my experience. I'm going to talk about the time. I'm not even going to tell you guys what happened until I get there. I had got a walk, it was last summer, and I got a walk to go to this neighborhood of apartment buildings. It was a giant complex filled with tall apartment buildings that all look the same. I've walked a dog before. The dog is a puppy-ish. It's pretty young, and it's really rowdy, and it never wants to listen. It never wants to go back in its cage, and I was like, okay. And I know that taking that walk, I like knew that the dog was rowdy and I didn't want to take it, but hey, it was like, you know what, now that I think about it, I think it was only like $9. Definitely wasn't worth it. So I get there and we're walking. The dog was named, I forget the dog's name, but I think it was Elliot. Or that was the last name, I can't remember, because I found out that the couple that I was walking for was a same-sex couple, and they hyphenated their last name. So when it came up in the app, I was like reading the first part of their hyphenated name as the real name. So I think it's Elliot. But we're walking and stuff, and Elliot, I'm just going to call the dog Elliot, takes a shit. And its leash had that little plastic bone that holds the poop bags inside. So I pick up the shit with the bag, and that little plastic part has that little plastic bone has a part that snaps off to go around the part of the leash, like a ring on the leash. Elliot picks up the piece, and the plastic piece snaps off. So I'm left holding the plastic bone, and I see the leash out of my hands on the ground. She's going. Elliot's running. I don't have the dog, and I'd never lost a dog before. I have always got 5-star reviews at least, maybe 4, maybe a few 4-star reviews. But I was like, holy shit. I take off running after the dog, and I'm screaming. I'm like, Elliot! I don't even know if that's a dog's name, so maybe that's why he wasn't listening, but he wasn't slowing down. He was running. He had these big flappy ears that were just blowing in the wind. I was like chasing this dog, and luckily it was in that big complex of apartment buildings, so we weren't going on a main road, and I was screaming for help, hoping that somebody in the area would be like, oh shit, that dude lost his dog. Nobody was coming out of their apartments. And there's cars everywhere, like in their driveways and shit. Like, I know you bitches are home, but I'm running after this dog, and in like scary movies when people trip, and you're like yelling at them for tripping. That shit actually happens. I tripped in a front yard out of nowhere. It's not even like I didn't even trip over my own feet. There was no curb. I tripped in a yard. I almost landed face first into this bag of shit. I leave the shit there, and I get up and I start running after him. He ran actually into a dead end where the dumpsters are, like, in apartment buildings and like that. There's like those back corners with the dumpsters. I chased him into there. I finally put the leash on him. He like whimpered because I was like, I don't even give a shit. You're coming home. Came home, and he had a too small of a cage, and it was hard for him to fit in, and it was so uncomfortable for him. So I'd usually play with him for a minute or two before putting him back in the cage. But I was like, I'm not even playing with you. I told him that. I was like, you're going back. So I put him back in the cage. I was so pissed off. It was hot that day. I left a shit in that person's yard. Sorry, that person. So I went to a Starbucks to wait for my next walk, which I had one about 30 minutes after. So I was sitting there. I was sweating bullets. I was telling my boy, I was like, this is so shitty. A dog just got away from me, but luckily I got it back. He's like, okay, good luck on your next one. I was like, thanks, I'll need it. So I go to my next one, and they were late getting home, so I was waiting in the driveway for a few minutes. But they had a newborn baby, and the dad got out with the newborn and was like, are you the dog walker? I was like, yeah, did you still want me to do it? Because it was like 10 minutes after the time I was scheduled for it. And he was like, yeah, let me just put my daughter inside. So he puts the daughter inside. He brings out the dog. It's like the size of a German Shepherd, but I don't think it was one. It looked a lot like one though. But he's like, yeah, we just go in the neighborhood across the street, because their neighborhood, their street was a cul-de-sac street off of a long main road. And then across the street was this neighborhood with non-busy streets, houses, things like that, sidewalks. So I was like, okay. So I spend about 10 minutes trying to get this dog to cross the street because it is not wanting to leave its owner. And to make things worse, the owner is not going back inside and is just letting the dog continue to try and go back to him. Like, go inside so I can bring the dog away so he can't see you anymore. But he wasn't even doing that. Taking me forever to bring the dog. The entire 30-minute walk, the dog is trying to go home. And in the notes, I read that he was a friendly dog, so maybe the dog just didn't like me. But the entire way home, the entire walk, he was trying to get his way home, he did not like me whatsoever. So I go down this street and I come up this way. I'm going up this way, which is where the main road is to get back to his house. I forget this dog's name, but the picture I took of it was scary as hell. But looked like a hyena. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden, I can't even tell you what happened. And this was totally my fault, and I take full responsibility. I don't even know what happened. I dropped the leash. And it's one of those leashes where you press the button and you put the dog on a short leash or the long leash. But I drop it, and the dog knows I dropped it, and it starts taking off. And this is the same day as I lost the other one. So the leash is just teasing me and swinging back and forth on the road in front of me, and I'm running after it. God, I wish I knew the name of the dog. But I'm yelling its name. I'm like, so it runs up, and it goes behind this truck parked on a curb in front of a house. So it's in the yard, and I'm in the street. So we're like on either side of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not happening again. It was the scariest moment ever. So I'm looking under the car to see if I can see its paws, which side it's closer on. But all I see is a wall of the curb. And I look behind me, and there's a car coming. So I'm waving my arms in the air. I need some help. Like, come on. They turned out on next street. So I was like, fuck. So I slowly creep behind the back of the van, and I lunge for the leash. But it's too quick, and it takes off. I don't get the leash. Now we're running towards the main road, and I'm like, holy fucking shit. We are about to go on a main road. This dog is going to get hit. I'm going to hit, and then I'm a sue. Just kidding. It was all my fault. I couldn't do anything like that. I'm chasing it. I'm screaming and waving my arms for cars to stop driving. Cars are honking at me. I swear to you, this sounds like something from a movie, and it was real life. It was my real life. So it really does sound like from a movie, but I swear this is like what happened. I'm screaming. This semi-truck driver tried to whistle to get the dog to stop. Thank you, but that's not enough. This dog runs out. This red car slams on its brakes. We even stop. Luckily, the dog was smart enough and old enough to find its way back home. So we get home. I'm out of breath. I can't even breathe. The owner comes outside and goes, "Did he get away from you?" I was like, he's like, and he screamed at the dog, told him to get inside, and then he came back with a $5 tip. I was like, really? A $5 tip? Your dog just gave me the worst walk of my life, and you're giving me a $5 tip? I'm just kidding. I can't be greedy. I let his dog get away, so it's all my fault. So I say I just take the money like thank you. I leave. I was so pissed. Not at him, not at the owner, at the dog. Well, I was a little pissed at the owner because you didn't even go inside and you weren't even there on time to let me get inside the house. Um, oh yeah, I didn't even go over how to get inside the house. Most of the dog walkers, by the way, have WAG boxes, which is a lockbox on their front door, which they give you the code after being booked, and once you type in the code, you get the key to their house, and that's how you get into their house. Other times, I had a regular client who just hid a key on his front deck. A lot of the owners don't even want to waste money on the lockbox, so they just hide their key places, which is fine. But anyways, that was the walk of my life, and I was really hesitant to take more walks after that. And the first walk I did take after was 2 dogs at a time, which was really scary. I was gripping the leashes so tight my knuckles were white the entire time. Another bad walk I did was I went to this neighborhood that wasn't the best of neighborhoods. For example, there was an old shirtless guy sitting in his front yard with a bunch of toys around him. Oh my goodness. Like, I know that sounds like maybe he was playing with his grandkids. There's no kids around. It was very uncomfortable. I got the worst vibes from it. I was like, this is weird. So I pull up to this house. The owners were away on vacation or something like that. They were going on vacation. I don't know. So I pull up to this house and I get the key from the WAG lockbox and I open the front door. Alarms start blaring. I'm like, and there's 2 neighbors sitting next door on their porch. I'm like, holy shit. So I go over and I see the alarm box on the wall across the living room. So I go over and I'm trying to like disarm it, but you need a code for that. And I'm like, okay. So I hear the dog start barking, and there's this little hallway off the living room, and the kitchen is the first doorway through the hallway. So I go into the kitchen, and I look, and the dog is this big, scary dog barking its head off inside of this cage that is way too small for him. He looks angry. He's drooling from the mouth. I was like, oh my gosh, the alarms aren't calming down. I'm like, oh shit. So I go stand outside. I tried calling the owner because once you get booked, you automatically get access to communication with the owner. So I'm calling the owner. I'm texting her. I'm like, "Hey, your alarms went off. What am I supposed to do with that?" The alarm system, the alarm code was supposed to be included in the tips once you get booked, but they weren't. So I was pissed off. I was called and I left a voicemail. I sounded bitchy. I don't give a fuck. So I was like, hey, what am I supposed to do? So I'm waiting out on this porch. The neighbors next door are looking at me like I'm breaking into their house. But I'm like wearing this shirt. I'm like, I'm with WAG. So I'm standing there. The alarms finally shut off. And I knew that they had an alarm system. When you see those blue signs in like gardens and like front yards that say ADT on it? It's that. So I knew that they had a system of some sort. So I go, the alarm shut off behind me in the house. So I was like, oh, the owner must have disarmed the alarm. So I go, put the key back in, I open the door. The alarms go off again. For the second time. The dog has nonstop bark, by the way. It's been barking this entire time. So I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I just closed the door again. I'm waiting there. I'm like, I'm just going to wait for the security agency to show up so I can explain to them. I'm with WAG. If you don't believe me, you can call their number because I have their number saved in case I have any questions, in case things like this happen. So I'm like, you can call if you want. Like, I'm a dog walker. I was like rehearsing this entire conversation in my head, and I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm leaving. I left. The agency never showed up. I can't even tell you how long I waited. The agency never showed up. I pulled into a school parking lot, which like the school itself was like in the middle of the neighborhood, which I thought was weird, like the middle of a neighborhood full of houses. So I pull into the parking lot and I call WAG and I tell them that I didn't trust it, that the dog was very, very vicious, and in the WAG notes it told me that I needed to feed the dog. So I like taught, and I couldn't even get into the cage where the bulls were because I didn't want to open the door and let that dog attack me. So I was like, I didn't trust it. The alarms kept going off. I tried to contact the owner. I wasn't gonna wait around. If you need them to give me my name, tell them I'm Brandon. So I left. I went home and I was telling my dad and my sister about it. That I was really scared and stuff. And the owner ended up calling me that evening, apologizing, saying that she usually gives me the code beforehand and she doesn't include it in the app. But she didn't even get a phone call, no text, no message, no alert that said that her alarms were going off. The agency never reached out to her. I was like, oh shit. I'm not dragging on that agency, but ugh, that's not very good. Um, so that happened. I was terrified. I also, you're gonna have, by the way, you're also gonna have, but I still got paid for the walk because that counts as a cancellation fee. I once this entire week got a full payday full of cancellation fees, which is when you get booked for something and you go there and they're not there, they don't come out of their house, they don't let you know that they canceled. So when you contact them and you say they canceled, you have to tell WAG that they canceled, and WAG will pay you a $10 cancellation fee, which is pretty cool. But I once got a whole payday full of cancellation fees. And you can work whenever you want. You don't have to work however many hours a week. It's whatever fits in your schedule, as well as whatever is available around you. Depends on your area. If there's a lot of dogs in your area and a lot of people signed up with WAG, then you can do that a little bit easier. You can set on Tinder when you can set like mile preference, like distance. You can also do that with WAG. I think that's it. Then you're also going to come across people who aren't very happy with your service. I walked a dog for 30 minutes. The dog was a puppy-ish, kind of younger. And I walked her for 30 minutes. She pulled me the entire time. It wasn't a very fun walk. Wouldn't listen. In 30 minutes, the owner gave me a 1-star review because the dog wasn't worn out. So I texted her. I was like, if you want a warrant, hey, I saw that you left me a 1-star review. If you want your dog to be more worn out, schedule for a 60-minute walk, not a 30-minute walk. She never responded, but I was like, really? You just gave me a 1-star review for nothing? Like that shouldn't even count. But you can also dog sit, and you can also bring a dog to your house to dog sit. So you can dog sit in the owner's houses, or you can bring the dog to your house. I've never done that because my Ginger Babe, my own dog, would not do well around other dogs, and I just never felt comfortable spending the night in a stranger's house. I don't know why. Unless they're rich. There's a lot of rich neighborhoods that I've been in, and I'm like, holy shit. And this other time, sometimes, like in the rich neighborhoods, they don't have their dumpsters out in front of their houses because they think it gives them a bad look. But the dog pooped, and I picked up the poop, and I had nowhere to put it, so I put it in my trunk. And my trunk isn't like really connected to my car, so I can't smell anything. Like my back seats separate it. So I drive home. I forget about it for a few hours. That it was in the back of my trunk, and I was like, oh shit. So I had to run out there, air my trunk out, left it open for like an hour. But yeah, don't forget the dog shit. If you don't, throw it away. But anyways, those are my experiences with dog with WAG. It's a really cool feature or app, whatever you want to call it. It's a really cool job. I wouldn't say it's a regular job. It just depends on how many. Like I've made $150 in 1 week. That was because I was lined up every single day, more than a few walks a day. It was crazy, but I made a lot of money. And if you get good tippers, cha-ching. But also the tax thing, you will be labeled as self-employed. So if you are thinking about doing it, kind of track how much gas you are wasting or spending to all these places. So kind of count up the mileage of it. So when you fill out your tax forms, and since you're going to be labeled as self-employed because you basically get to pick your own hours and whatnot, you might want to take into account how much miles you're going. If you need to buy anything from it, like I had to buy this gear from it. And if you do a lot of that and all that money stacks up, your taxes will be less, which is completely understandable because I was driving all over the place for this, and so they take a lot of your mileage out for you. which is I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, it's a 1099, not a W-2 for the tax thing. Um so just keep that in account because I know a lot of people aren't with that. Because when you work a regular job with regular hours from a regular corporation or whatever, they take your taxes out for you, but you have to do it at the end. So it's kind of like, that's kind of a bummer. But I had my dad help me with it, and my aunt is an accountant, so she helped me too. So find somebody who can help you with that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck to all of you fellow dog walkers out there. If you're thinking about doing it, it's a really really fun job. I've met some really really cool people during it, and I get to spend time with some dogs, and it's really really nice. How you get to pick your own hour, you get to do what you want, because I'm that type of person who doesn't really like interacting with too many people all the time. So walking with the dog, walking at my own pace, it's a really really nice, it's a really really nice side job, like for some spending money and things like that. But I wouldn't say it's like something you to like a regular. It's not enough for a regular dog. Like if you have to pay for a regular job, if you have to pay rent or pay a car bill or pay a phone bill, this job I don't think will make the cut. But it depends on where you live. And if a lot of people around your area are signed up with it and are constantly needing walks and stuff, you might get lucky. But not around where I live. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.